Joining me now, a member of the House Intelligence Committee, Texas Democratic Congressman Joaquin Castro. Congressman, thank you so much for taking the time tonight. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Casey.
I want to start with what Senator Cotton was just talking about there and kind of the looming fight. We've been hearing a lot about the negotiations over that DACA program. They had been, before the break, according to all of the people I was talking to, on a decent track. There were bipartisan negotiations ongoing. Everybody seemed to think this was something that was going to get solved. Now, those negotiations seem to be going by the wayside, falling apart. I'm wondering, is that your view of where things stand right now?
Well, I'm still optimistic that the Congress can come to some kind of compromise on DACA so that we can make sure that 800,000 young people, who most of whom have only known the United States as their home, are not subject to deportation. I'm still optimistic about that. I think we have to be optimistic about it. I've heard the discussion about a border wall, but bear in mind that this is no longer a matter of convincing the American people to do something for the DACA kids. 83% of Americans support DACA relief. It's a matter of convincing President Trump and the Republican majority in Congress to listen to the American people and do the right thing.
Is there any circumstance under which Democrats could accept a wall on the Mexican border to pay for that wall in exchange for helping these kids? Or do you think that the government should shut down over that?
Well, I think that's going to be a very tough deal for the president to make. We don't want to trade the lives of 800,000 people for a wall across the United States. And bear in mind also, again, that the majority of American people and the majority of people in Texas, for example, do not support President Trump's border wall. So we believe that this is an issue that is unto itself, that DACA should be handled with a clean DREAM Act, and that if there's elements of border security that President Trump and Republicans want to pursue, that they can pursue that in separate legislation.
I want to ask you sort of one more time. Do you think that Democrats should withhold votes from a bill to help Dreamers if it includes funding for the wall?
I will certainly vote against it, and I know most Democrats will vote against it. I can only speak for the House of Representatives, of course. In the Senate, they have different rules, and it's a different matter. But I would suspect that you will have the overwhelming majority of Democrats vote against it, yes.
Can I also ask you about the politics more broadly? Tom Cotton alluded to this, that essentially saying it's not a winning issue for the Democratic Party across the map to take a stand on DACA. Do you think that's the case?
Yeah, I don't know where he gets that sentiment, because as I mentioned, over 80% of Americans believe that we should do the right thing by these dreamers, people who came here to the United States through no fault of their own and find themselves in a kind of legal limbo. So I'm not sure exactly what he's talking about or who he's talking to, but the numbers speak for themselves.
Let's switch gears just a little bit and talk about the farther on future for Democrats in 2018, 2020, and beyond. I want to start by asking you about your twin brother, who is often discussed as a potential presidential candidate in 2020. Is that something that's on the table? And if so, what do you think he would potentially bring to that race?
Well, you're going to have to invite my brother on the show to let him answer these questions.
I know you guys talk all the time.
I, of course, will support him in whatever he does. I think he did a wonderful job as mayor of San Antonio and as HUD secretary under President Obama, and is out of politics right now, but I think has a bright future.
I want to play for you an interview that Joe Biden, former vice president under Barack Obama, did recently. He, of course, has been kind of out front in the public eye, raising a lot of questions about whether he wants to be the standard bearer in 2020. Take a look and then let's talk about it.
I'm not saying I won't run, but I don't have any concrete plan to run.
Is age a factor?
Sure.
You would be 78 if you were to run and win.
It's a totally legitimate factor.
Howard Dean said this morning, former Democratic Party chair, he said the old people in the party need to, quote, get the hell out of the way and
well,
let
tell Howard I can
50.
take him physically, okay?
Do you think the Democrats need somebody younger than Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders in 2020?
I think there's going to be a place for every Democrat who wants to run for president in 2020 to get up on stage and explain their vision to Americans and to Democrats. And so whether it's Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, and many other talented people, at this point I say the more the merrier. Get as many people up there as possible. These are strong folks, very accomplished people, and let them make their case to Democrats and to the American people, and may the best person win the nomination.
One thing I will say, Congressman, is the argument that you are making now ahead of this, well ahead, I will say, of this Democratic primary is the same one that I heard Republicans make back in 2015 when they had what they referred to as the deepest, most talented bench the Republicans had had in a long time, and many of them were unhappy that President Trump ultimately won their nomination. Is there a risk there for you?
I don't think so. I don't think you're going to see an equivalent of Donald Trump in the 2020 presidential field for Democrats. At least I hope not. No, I think we're going to have a very talented group of folks of different ages, different backgrounds and experiences who decide to step forward and step up and run for the presidency in 2020.
I want to finally just talk a little bit. You sit on the House Intelligence Committee and are familiar with where that investigation stands. Where are you in the course of your investigation? Do you expect it to wrap up soon? And by all accounts, we've heard that Democrats and Republicans don't plan to put out anything, a joint product in the wake of this investigation because things have gotten so partisan. Is that your sense of where it stands?
Well, I can't say that for sure right now, and I certainly wouldn't want to speak for the whole committee or even for the Democrats on the House Intelligence Committee at this point. But you're right. There have been several bumps in the road, and eventually we'll have to decide whether it's going to be a joint report or there's going to be a minority report. I don't think that we're anywhere near being done with this investigation. We still have many witnesses to interview, and just as importantly, I believe that we need to go back and follow many of the leads that the witnesses who have come in front of the committee have already given to us, and that if we don't follow up on those leads, then this investigation really is not what it should have been. So there's still a lot of work to do. And when I hear some folks say that it should be wrapping up in a matter of weeks or even a few months, I really strongly disagree with that sentiment.
Congressman Joaquin Castro, thanks so much for your time tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.